Before Egypt raised her pyramids, before Babylon reached for heaven, the earth trembled beneath footsteps that defied creation itself. Giants walked among us. Not legends, not metaphors. Physical beings whose very existence challenged the natural order. Genesis chapter 6 preserves one of history's most disturbing accounts. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives of all whom they chose. From these forbidden unions came beings Scripture calls the heroes of old, the men of renown. But Genesis offers only glimpses of a cosmic catastrophe that nearly destroyed creation. The full horror emerges from texts that survived in Ethiopian monasteries and desert caves. The Book of Enoch, written 3 centuries before Christ, reads like an eyewitness account of humanity's darkest chapter. According to Enoch's testimony, 200 angels called Watchers descended upon Mount Hermon under their leader, Semjaza. These were not ordinary angels. They held positions of cosmic authority, supervising different aspects of creation, yet they abandoned their posts for something forbidden: the physical desire for human women. Semjaza understood the magnitude of their planned rebellion. "I fear you will not agree to do this deed," he warned his fellow Watchers, "and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin." But they bound themselves with oaths, descending to earth as a unified force of cosmic treason. The resulting offspring defied every natural law. The Book of Jubilees describes giants growing to monstrous proportions. Some traditions claim heights reaching 3,000 ells, nearly 4,500 feet. When normal food ran out, these giants turned cannibal. First, Enoch records that the giants devoured mankind. They consumed birds, beasts, reptiles, and fish until the earth itself cried out in anguish. But the Watchers' corruption extended beyond producing monster children. They committed the ultimate violation by teaching forbidden knowledge to humanity. Azazel instructed metallurgy, but specifically for warfare. Under angelic guidance, humanity learned to forge instruments of death rather than tools for cultivation. Other Watchers contributed their own specialties to humanity's corruption. Archaeological revealed astrology's secrets. Kokabel taught stellar movements. Shamsiel shared knowledge of solar signs, while Sariel explained lunar courses. They revealed heaven's mysteries to creatures never meant to possess such wisdom. Women received their own curriculum of corruption. They learned charms and enchantments, the cutting of roots, transforming healing herbs into instruments of sorcery. They discovered cosmetics and jewelry, creating artificial allure that Enoch's author viewed as the beginning of deception itself. Archaeological evidence supports these ancient accounts in ways that should disturb anyone investigating honestly. Throughout the Middle East, massive stone blocks defy conventional explanation. At Baalbek in Lebanon, the stone of the pregnant woman weighs over 1,200 tons. Modern engineering struggles to move such monoliths, yet somehow these blocks were quarried, transported across difficult terrain, and fitted with precision, rivaling laser-guided construction. Local traditions have never wavered in their explanation. The giants built them. God's response to this rebellion was swift and absolute. The Book of Jubilees records divine commands ordering the giants' destruction. Gabriel received orders to turn them against each other in wars of mutual annihilation. The Watchers themselves faced binding in darkness until final judgment. But judgment extended beyond the Nephilim. Genesis chapter 6 verse 5 delivers a verdict that explains the drastic solution. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. The corruption had spread too far. Only complete reset through worldwide flood could restore creation's purity. Yet Genesis 6 verse 4 contains 4 words that change everything. And also after that. The Nephilim existed before the flood. They also existed afterward. How could beings marked for total destruction survive God's complete judgment? The answer waited in Canaan's fortified cities, where descendants of the Watchers' rebellion had learned to hide, adapt, and prepare for the day when Abraham's children would come seeking their promised inheritance. 40 years after the Great Exodus, 12 Hebrew scouts crossed into Canaan, carrying the hopes of an entire nation. They returned with faces drained of color and voices trembling with terror. "We saw the Nephilim there," they reported. "The sons of Anak come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them." The impossible had occurred. The giants had survived. Numbers 13 identifies these survivors by name and location. 3 sons of Anak controlled the ancient city of Hebron. Shishai, Ahiman, and Talmai. These were not scattered individuals hiding in remote caves. They commanded fortified strongholds, ruled territories, and organized into a sophisticated military confederation that dominated Canaan's most strategic locations. Anak himself descended from Arba, described as the greatest man among the Anakim. The very name Anak struck terror across the region, representing a bloodline that traced directly back to the pre-flood giants. Egyptian records from 2000 BCE document the lie Anak among their enemies, confirming these weren't biblical inventions but historical realities acknowledged by multiple ancient civilizations. But the Anakim represented only one tribe in a vast network of giant clans. The Emim controlled Moabite territories. Their name means the terrible ones, and historical accounts suggest they earned this designation through both size and savagery. The Zamzumim dominated strategic trade routes, speaking languages that buzzed incomprehensibly like insects, possibly indicating non-human vocal structures. Then there was Og, king of Bashan. Deuteronomy 3 verse 11 preserves an astounding detail about this monarch. His bed measured 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, constructed of iron. Using standard measurements, this translates to 13.5 feet long and 6 feet wide. The text specifically mentions iron, emphasizing both the bed's durability and its necessity. Wood would have splintered under Og's immense weight. But Og represented more than impressive size. Ancient texts claim he predated the flood itself, surviving by clinging to Noah's Ark like a massive parasite. Some sources identify him with Eliezer, Abraham's servant, who somehow transformed into this gigantic entity. If true, Og possessed over 1,000 years of accumulated knowledge, dark wisdom, and battle experience when Moses finally confronted him. No wonder Deuteronomy records that Og ruled 60 fortified cities from his capital at Ashtaroth. Joshua launched a systematic extermination campaign against these giant strongholds. Joshua 11 verse 21 uses specific Hebrew terminology saying he devoted them to destruction. City after city fell. The Anakim were driven from Hebron, from Debir, from Anab, from all the hill country of Judah and Israel. But Joshua's campaign contained one fatal flaw. Some Anakim escaped to 3 Philistine cities, Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod. This oversight would prove catastrophic for Israel's future. From Gath would emerge the most famous giant in history. Goliath of Gath stood between 6 feet or 9 feet 9 inches tall, depending on which ancient manuscript you trust. The discrepancy itself tells the story. The Dead Sea Scrolls and Septuagint report the shorter height, while later Hebrew texts claim the taller measurement. Either way, Goliath represented something more terrifying than mere size. His bronze armor weighed 125 pounds. His spear point alone weighed 15 pounds. 2 Samuel reveals Goliath commanded 4 giant relatives, all seasoned fighters. One displayed 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 digits total. Modern medicine recognizes this genetic anomaly as polydactyly, but combined with gigantism, it suggests something far more disturbing than natural human variation. David's giant hunting campaign would eventually eliminate all 5 Philistine giants, but their mere existence confirmed the bloodline's persistence. These beings had adapted, evolved, and continued reproducing despite centuries of systematic extermination efforts. The name Rephaim, used for Og's clan, carries dual meaning in Hebrew. It describes both living giants and spirits of the dead. This linguistic connection wasn't accidental. In the Book of Isaiah, identical terminology for souls rising from Sheol, suggesting these beings somehow straddled the boundary between physical and spiritual realms. Archaeological evidence supports these accounts in disturbing ways. The region of Bashan, described as the land of Rephaim, contains hundreds of megalithic stone tombs dating from the 5th to 3rd millennia BCE. These dolmens were built for occupants far larger than normal humans, with entrance stones requiring massive strength to move.